Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, taking a deep dive into this Miami Hurricanes offense heading into 2023. And when you start to peel back what this program and what this unit is going to look like in the 2023 season, you have a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the steps forward this Miami Hurricanes offense can take. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys. I just was saying thank you for 7,000 subscribers last week. Now we're at 7.3. The support from you guys truly does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. I learned so much from you guys, whether it's a fall practice note, whether it's an injury update. You guys help me a lot. Appreciate y'all rocking with the boys. So let me know in the comment section your guys' takes. We'll chop it up there as well. And let's get into this Miami offense. And what I've been doing to kind of prep this Miami offense deep dive is not only keeping track of the fall practice notes, who's kind of flashing for Miami, the personnel. I went back to Shannon Dawson and how he coached this Houston offense and kind of took some things that I'm really excited to see implemented in this Miami program. Now, before we even start about what Shannon Dawson brings, and if you guys have listened to me all summer, you know I'm not the biggest fan of Josh Gaddis as a Michigan fan, but Shannon Dawson is going to bring a lot of juice to this offense. We'll get into that in just a sec. I want to focus on probably the most impactful aspect of this Miami Hurricanes team on the offensive side of the ball, and that's the retooled offensive line. You take a look back at some of the numbers for this Miami program in 2022. 3.3 yards per carry. That's 110th nationally. They could not run the football on a consistent basis. Pass protection was equally bad, an 8.49% drop back sat rate. That is 99th nationally, in the country. So the offensive line, and I know they were banged up and quite frankly, just flat out bad last year. That's where it starts in terms of the success you're going to see on the field. You take a look at who they brought in. I think you're looking at probably the best interior offensive line duo in Matt Lee and Javion Cohen. I mean, Matt Lee's a guy that probably would have been a day 3 pick in the NFL draft, transferring from UCF. Javion Cohen might have even been a day 2 NFL draft pick in the 2023 draft, transferring from Alabama. So you get really, really good on the interior. You got to think that running game is going to get a lot better. Then you look at the tackle spots. Like Francis Maui Noah, what you hear from fall camp is that this dude's just different. And even as a true freshman, it sounds like he's going to be one of the better tackles in the ACC. Not only exciting for the 2023 season, but you take a look at what this offensive line is going to look like in the future with Pancake Concho as well. Like, that's going to be a really special group. And then Jalen Rivers. Jalen Rivers sounds like he's going to be that left tackle. And I think there's a lot of things to be excited about Jalen Rivers, and not only the starting five that's going to be massively improved with a ton of new faces. You got some depth too, right? Pancake Concho, 5-star 2023 kid. He's probably going to play at some point. And then you have Zion Nelson, who, if you guys have been like the OG listeners listening for the last 2 years, you know my takes on Zion Nelson. I think he has the talent to be a first-round NFL draft pick. He's just got to stay on the field. Been watching this kid since he's been a true freshman, trotting out against the Florida Gators. And the improvements you saw were extremely exciting. And then the injury bug happened, and he hasn't really been able to stay on the field. Zion Nelson, even if he's not a starter, but he's a plug-and-play guy if he gets healthy, like, you're looking at an offensive line that not only got a lot better in terms of that starting five, but the depth that this offensive line has, which was a massive problem for the Hurricanes in 2022, is also a lot better. So I think it starts with the offensive line, pass protection, and the ability to run the football. I think both those things improve, and both those things were really bad in 2022. Now, I want to talk about next Shannon Dawson and what he's going to bring to Miami. Josh Gaddis, there was never really an identity, and this is going back to my takes of him at Michigan. Like, he always kind of came in and said speed and space, but you never really saw that. They weren't a team that was going to impose their will in the run game until Jim Harbaugh really took over the play calling. And you saw the very similar thing at Miami, where you watch those Miami games, and I get there were a lot of injuries, maybe some lack of talent, but there was never an identity. You know what the identity is going to be with Shannon Dawson coming in, and I'm really excited about it, right? You're going to see a little bit more spread, but they're not going to lose that physicality. You're going to see them try to run the football. Shannon Dawson, the air raid, the spread offense, I think is more predicated on getting his guys in space and stretching the field vertically, and that's what you saw of his time at Houston. So What I'm most excited about is you saw Shannon Dawson work magic with Clayton Tune. Clayton Tune went in the NFL draft, was one of the better quarterbacks under Shannon Dawson's offense that we saw not only in that conference, but in the whole entire country. I mean, he was a top 150 pick, I believe, in the NFL draft, threw for 40 touchdowns last year. If you can have that similar quarterback development with Tyler Van Dyke, which I think a lot of us would argue Tyler Van Dyke is more talented than Clayton Tune. That's not a knock on Clayton Tune. That is talking about Tyler Van Dyke being truly one of the better quarterbacks in the country if he's in the right situation, if the pass protection is there, if he's healthy. So that's really exciting. But what I think I'm even more looking forward to is seeing them kind of put defenses in conflict, not only with the space, but stretching the field vertically. That was another massive, massive problem in this Miami Hurricanes offense. 3.3 yards per play or 4.8 yards per play last year. That is 104th nationally. This team could not push the ball down the field. They could not find an explosive play. And so what was Shannon Dawson really, really good at when you look back at Houston? 6.4 yards per play. That's top 20 in the country. So that Shannon Dawson offense is going to look for more explosive plays. Now you look at the personnel. Who's the personnel that Miami has this year that's going to allow Shannon Dawson to really find those explosive plays? Because you can only do so much with the scheme. You got to have the players to do so as well. And the first guy I keep hearing about from Miami fans, from the fall practice notes, from the press conferences, Colby Young. And you go back and watch him. Like Colby Young flashed as a true wide receiver one at the ACC Power 5 level. And you're talking about a really big athlete who's functional and fast. Kind of a matchup nightmare. And when Colby Young was playing his best ball, really, really difficult for defensive backs to deal with. So Colby Young, I'm looking for that wide receiver one. And Shannon Dawson's even said it in some of the press conferences. We need big guys who can make plays down the field vertically. Colby Young's that guy. What's another way you can get down the field vertically? Speed. Tyler Harrell, probably the fastest player in college football. And if he can stay healthy, you talk about a guy that can really stretch the field with Colby Young and Tyler Harrell, one with size, one with speed. And what does that help create? When you have legit burners, you have legit guys who can press vertically down the field, it's going to open up that short and intermediate route trees. And a guy like Xavier Strepo, a guy like Ray Joseph coming in as a true freshman, I really think are going to feast, right? That's kind of what I mean in the terms of this Miami team is going to put a lot of other defenses in conflict because now we can stretch the field vertically. And Shannon Dawson is going to try to stretch the field vertically, and he has the personnel to do so. And I don't know if you'll find a better slot receiver than Xavier Strepo. And I'm not saying he's like the most athletic. He's not the most twitched up, but he's a guy that in terms of finding open space, being able to create separation, being able to present himself to a quarterback, he just gets it. And that really, really matters. So Xavier Strepo, I think, probably leads the team in catches, but I wouldn't be surprised if Colby Young leads the team in receiving yards, hitting those big plays. But having the personnel that can do a little bit of both, I think is going to be absolutely massive for this Miami team. And just a couple other guys I want to shout out. Frank Ladson, he's a guy that whenever I'm watching Miami fall practice clips, he was a guy, we were talking about him last year as a big body that can stretch vertically. Would keep your eyes out on a guy like Frank Ladson. Isaiah Horton, I know, has been getting a lot of buzz too. I think all of a sudden you feel way better about this Miami receiver room than you did last year. Not only from new guys coming in like Tyler Harrell in the transfer portal, Ray Joseph in Washington in that 2023 class, but the development. A lot of these guys last year were just young, right? Colby Young, Xavier Strepo got hurt, Isaiah Horton. These guys aren't fifth, 6th-year guys that you don't really think are going to take steps. It sounds like a lot of these guys can take those steps as they change their body continually throughout college football and just get a little bit more experience. Now, the last element that I don't really want to lose fact, and I feel like a lot of Miami fans, including myself, when I talk about this Miami offense, is the run game, right? There's a lot of talk about Tyler Van Dyke and the wide receivers. Don't get me wrong. Your leading pass catcher last year was Will Mallory, a tight end. That is not okay. You got to have a wide receiver, an alpha wide receiver who can hit those explosive plays. And the fact that Will Mallory was your leading receiver just kind of shows you couldn't really stretch the field. You couldn't push the ball down the field vertically. Now, with all that being said, I think that gets better. I think you get a more explosive offense, but don't lose, I should say, of this run game. Because when Shannon Dawson spreads you out, he says, like, if we have the numbers in the box that favor us, we are going to run the football. And this running back room is absolutely loaded to the gills, right? Henry Parrish Jr. probably going to be your day one starter. But Miami fans and we've been talking a lot about some other names, right? Henry Parrish, probably a little bit more of a smaller guy that you want to get out in space. That is perfect for what Shannon Dawson wants to do. But Donald Chaney, we've been talking a lot about him. He's finally healthy, feels like he's a full go. I think he might be the best running back in the room. You go out and get A.J. Allen from Nebraska, who can catch out of the backfield, and then don't sleep on true freshman Mark Fletcher, who's an absolute bruiser. And Mario Cristobal bringing in Shannon Dawson, yes, we want to spread these defenses out, but we don't want to lose that physicality. I think you're going to see the four main things that Miami really struggled on the offensive side of the ball last year get significantly better. That's pass protection, that's the run game, and that's hitting those explosive plays. Those were all three things that Miami was brutal at last year, right? One of the worst pass protecting teams in the country, could not run the football to save their life, and they couldn't stretch the field. All three things, there's a lot of reason to think Miami's going to get better in, and that's all of a sudden going to result in more than 19.4 points per game, which was 114th nationally. So the combination, and this is a conversation I don't think people talk enough about, is you just change the coordinator and all of a sudden it gets better. No, that's not the only thing that's changing for the Miami Hurricanes. Like, they are getting their personnel got significantly better, especially on that offensive line, which, again, you look back at some of the big problems, pass protection and running the football, that has a lot to do with the offensive line. So you're going to have the offensive line get better. You're going to have a lot of the wide receivers, I think, take a step as they get some more experience and get healthy. And then you got Shannon Dawson coming in as well, who, again, one of the proven better offensive coordinators that we see in the country. A lot of reasons for this Miami Hurricanes team to get better. And the last thing I'll say is this Miami team should win 8+ games. I really, from a personnel, from a talent standpoint in the ACC, which has not been that good. You take a look and you take out Clemson, Florida State, maybe North Carolina. Like, Miami, from a talent level, should be winning 8 games this year. And if they can do that, get this 2024 class going and finish strong, that's when you get really excited about what Mario Cristobal is building down at Miami. I think he was a good hire. He's obviously recruited really well in that 2023 class. Getting it going in this 2024 cycle, this is a team that is trending in the right direction, but you got to see it on the football field in 2023. And on the offensive side of the ball, I certainly think you get that. Again, appreciate you guys. Would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Maybe a player I'm sleeping on that I need to add to the notebook. Appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.